Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mad in God podcast. I'm Max, your host, and I am here with the wonderful, the amazing, the one and only, and superb Roxanne Swinhart. Hi, Roxanne. How are you?
Wonderful, Max. Thank you so much. And how are you?
I'm great. I'm fantastic. And do you know why why am I fantastic? Why am I so great, wonderful?
Because you're an awesome creator. Because
Yes.
you get to experience life. But I think in this reference, because you get to talk about the angelics.
Exactly. But I will say, I was going to say all that you said, absolutely. But in this instance, I will act because I read the angelic. It's that good. And it's an experience that I will cherish forever. And I put it at the same level as the experience that I had when I was reading the Seth material, because it is so good and it is so full of information, of evolution, of ascension, that for me, it becomes a essential reading.
Essential reading, yeah. And for the folks out there, this is my book I wrote called The Angelics. I just published it January 1st. Actually, I think it was December 31st. But anyways, it's out on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and we will provide you with the links. So, and that's today's discussion, is this wonderful book that I have created through my own. I think it's the will of me that allowed me to do it. I had the intuition and the humility to try to create something great out of my memory, but the willingness to allow the now and to let all this information flow into me and then translate it and put it down on paper in my own wonderful way to create a wonderful story. It's a fiction book, and it has an incredible amount of information about creation in there, and I think it's magnificent. So go ahead, Max, start with that.
But you see, when you say there is a lot of information about creation, that's correct. But I add, it's not just information. What you write about, what you bring, it's the experience of creation, the experience of understanding creation, the experience of getting into the knowing, right? Because there is obviously a difference between receiving the information and then applying the information or understanding the information. And what you do is that you bring all of that. You bring the information, and then you bring the understanding of the information. And what you do, as you are free to do as you are telling a story, is that you give to your character the path or the opportunity, the possibility to evolve through that information and to apply it, right?
To express it, to use it, to apply it. Absolutely.
So that the reader then is exposed to what it is, and they can get their own interpretation of it. They can get into it and say, "Oh, that's how it's done. Oh, that's what it brings. That's the evolution," right? Those kind of things. That and right. That's the difference. That's what it brings, and what that's my experience.
Well, yeah, then it brings that exactly.
So, but let's get from the beginning. So you wrote the book, The Angelics. You had all the process of writing, then of editing, and then to decide what to do with it. to get it published or not, the way you wanted it published. You had opportunities presented to you.
Yeah.
You had choices to make. And I think that story is very interesting because that story is also indicating or giving an idea of how creation works. Because you actually could have done it in a different way, and it will have worked as much as it works right now, but you choose different. You choose what you choose, and you got published, right? You published it.
Yeah, I published it. Yeah. What I like about the story, if I go back to the ability to write, I'm not a very educated person. I made it through high school, a feeble attempt at college, just a total joke. So I have stories in my head, but I couldn't put it down on paper. It was arduous for me to write until I learned how to type because I had bad handwriting. So that shied away from actually transferring words onto paper. And then I learned to type, and that was only for purposes of jobs or anything like that I would need a skill set to type. But there was no writing. But I'm a channel. And I remember when Victoria, a very dear friend of mine, said, "Hey, I have an idea about a story and I want you to help me write it. Are you up for that?" And I said, "Sure." So what I did is I tapped into this entire reality called Hidden Realms, and we wrote an entire season, 8 episode season for a television show called Hidden Realms. And that was an ability. And what I did was just, describe what was going on in that world, telling her about it, and then she would put it into the words and clean it up a little bit. And then we had a person take that and make it into dialogue of characters and stuff like that. And it was wonderful. A writer that turned it into that. And then that ended like a year ago or something, and whatever's going on with those realities, and all part of the journey. Then I had the idea, like I called Victoria because we were thinking about this idea about a movie called The Angelics. And I said, "Send me what I sent you on The Angelics. I can't find my copy," because we kind of wrote some stuff down. And then she goes, "Yeah, sure." So I got it. And I just took the idea and I started writing. And I looked up on Google, how do you talk text? Is there a talk text? Because I really didn't want to write because I know my punctuation, my periods, my ands, my commas, my paragraphs. I didn't know any of that shit. None of that shit carried over. Very, very little of it carried over. All the only thing I remember that you don't do anymore is double space after a period. You don't even do that anymore. So what I do remember, you don't fucking do. But I kind of remember commas and howevers, and the semicolon is a fucking enigma to me, right? So anyways, I just started and I found Google Docs and I started. See, that was presented. That's want to reiterate what you said. See, this wasn't a process of imagination on how to do it. This wasn't a process of timed and goals and skill sets to be learned before you adventure. See, life is an evolution, and all the means for the now of evolution is opportune in the moment. The opportunity that you have every moment is vibrant, full, and never lacking. It is only the mind that squanders the ideas about what is the proper tool to use to achieve an outcome, which are all time-based, based off of the idea of a memory on a comparative level of what's to be achieved for some emotional identity fulfillment, like success or security or, uh, you know, dreams come true or bucket lists or something that's not happening now. And it's very difficult. It's a very different kind of way to live because the stream of humanity teaches prepare, 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 and die. And in between, maybe you'll get to do something. So, and all the schoolings, it's always about the next, the next. It's never about now and understanding. So that work that I've done in the last 9 years about evolving myself and understanding consciousness from the internal creator and bringing that out, like you said in the book, you gave him the development of those skills and then you must employ those skills. So I just started writing and I wrote a chapter and I sent it to my friend, Debbie, and Debbie loved it if it was a screenplay. She goes, I love it if it was a screenplay, but it's not a novel. So you need to make it a novel. So she gave me some pointers, and I went back and I made it a novel. I get it, but see, I had an idea of a belief in place that I wasn't recognizing. So that reflection gave me an insight to a belief that allowed more to flow. Now that was opportunity that exposed itself. I would have gotten that insight somewhere, but in this reality, it came through the manifestation of Debbie offering that truth to me, which allowed Angelics to become more of a novel, more of a fiction novel, and more beautiful. Now, not everyone's going to like the read. It was not professionally edited, so there might not be the contextual ideas of what people expect out of a novel, but I'm not an expecting person. I'm not going to conform. I'm going to follow my journey. If there's a professional editor for my next book, it'll be presented, but there was nothing in that idea I needed that. The only thing I used to edit the entire book was a program called Grammarly, which was phenomenal. It corrected my periods and my spaces and my commas and my paragraphs. It did all that stuff. And of course the spelling, but the spell checks were done. And then it took it a little further about passive voice and monotone passages and gave me some ideas, and maybe I can say this a little fuller and a little richer. So that took 5 months to write the Angelics. So I wrote it, and then it took me a couple of months to edit it and then allow the things to represent. And then I got the idea of a publishing company, but it was a self-publishing company. It wasn't one where I would turn over the rights and get 12 cents a book or something like that, but I lose all the rights. But that would be traditional publishing. So that book would be out there in thousands of ideas if it got published through traditional publishing. So you get the big market idea, but you don't get any rights to it. And I'm not going to sell the rights to this because it's a series. It's 8 books in this entire universe called the 5 Realms of the Continuance. So inside of that, there's stories galore, and I'm going to bring them out in a series. I'm not going to sell the rights for that. So I knew traditional publishing wasn't for me, and self-publishing. But do I know how to do this? And what happened is, on the journey, the manifested ideas of typical conversations allowed me to connect to authors who self-published to give me the insight about where to go and what to do. So I followed those things. I went to Amazon. I got it formatted. I went to Barnes & Noble. I got the proper formatting. I found an illustrator which made an incredible cover of the Angelics. It was a manifestation. I got it to go to this site. Someone told me, here, you can find them on this, and they offer all these things. And it's called Readsy. And on Readsy, there's book designers and ghostwriters and editors and all of these things. So this is what creation provides. So it attracted, and I felt the resonance. And this girl named Toby, she goes, I looked at her work and I was like, that's it. It resonated. I saw something that clicked with me and I got it. And she created an outstanding cover. So the book is done. The formatting's done. I upload it. It all uploads. I put it on sale and on Barnes, and now it's published. And I own all the rights. Now, here's the thing about publishing something that's apatetical of the ego. And that is in a relationship to the success of it. Do I want it to be read? Yes. But we also have to look at the Seth material. The Seth material has been around since the 70s, late 60s into the 70s, and it's still selling today. It wasn't sold at the beginning because it was a concept that was just contorting. It wasn't a very big, but as humanity woke up to consciousness, it got larger and larger, so it's one of the most read books in the world and translated it into, 32 or 54 different freaking languages, because the material itself shows the value of conceptual change of the internal self, the fractal evolving. So that's the quality that gets out to humanity. So in this idea, what I put in there wasn't an intention, it wasn't a purpose, it was my joy to create this idea called the Angelics, the story in my head, I tapped into this universe, brought all that information, and made it into, and created the story that allowed me to express the internal idea of what I felt. And it was absolutely fantastic. I had James, a friend of ours, Max. He said, you brought two genres. You brought fiction and self-help, and you put it into one book. And I was like, yeah, I can see that, because there's a lot of concepts about realization of self and how it employs, or how it can be expressed, and how you can employ it in your daily life to understand or recognize, your own behaviors that are just simple belief systems because you were born a certain race in a certain country with a certain set of parents. Change your race, change your country, change your parents, you're a different self, but you're still the same singularity, the same awareness, the same I am. And we want to start to penetrate through the fractal, the separated self, to find the creator inside and start to use that and take down what is not no longer your valid truth. And the angelics represent that. And then it also has the openings of the next adventures of the stories with the monarchs and the metal civilization, and where we're going with the staff bearers, which is going to be the third book. The second book right now is Venusia, and I'm writing that one right now. And then the third book is the staff bearers, which are tied into the angelics. So it was a fantastic journey to get here, and it was all available in the now. And the preparation and everything was not needed to be done because I didn't have a timeline. I didn't have a deadline. I didn't have an outcome. I didn't have a means to an end. I took the masterful journey of now, which is almost insane to the human, because they go, well, how can you move if you don't know where you're going? I don't need to go anywhere because I'm always now, and now is always moving through me. I don't need to chase what's there.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the aspects of this book that is outstanding, is the beginning. Let's get there. So the beginning, there are three main characters that become the seal, that receive a seal from the angelics.
The seal,
and the seal, and they are, let's say, ordinary people that have little to nothing to do with any spiritual path or understanding or whatsoever. They are absolutely ordinary humans having a human experience, right?
Yep.
And so when they are contacted by the angelics, they start a path of self-discovery from nothing, right? And so they start from there, and these beings, the angelics, they bring them wisdom, new concepts, and with that they evolve. With that, they start understanding themselves, and they start what? They start a internal dialogue, right? And that is one of my favorite points of the book, is this internal dialogue. And that dialogue is a dialogue of self-awareness, self-discovery. There is that inside self that is also bringing the wisdom. How do I do this? Have you thought of this? Have you seen that? Are you doing that? Aren't you doing that? And these three beings, then they start accepting it. And what is there is what. And this is the essential point, is the total surrender that this being have with everything that is presented to them. Even though in the beginning they were resisting. They were doing exactly what a human being would do. Resistance. I don't understand. What are you talking about? You don't make sense, right? Those things. But they did also another thing. They accepted to go into the unknown. They accept it to give a chance to what they were not understanding, so that they allow the understanding to be presented to them.
Through natural attraction. Takes a little patience to get that understanding, but look at the appetite of humanity. You got to know now, you got to understand now, because our fucking school system teaches that. If you don't get this information, you can't contain it and then prove that you understand it. You can't advance. You're putting a clock on a human mind. You fucking arrogant fucks. Total fucking rude to the human. But that's the system. I'm not going to mad at it, but I don't have to fucking tolerate it. I say fuck you to your coward ways, and you don't have the courage to figure out that you can teach in another way that doesn't have an idea of such a repertoire of confined, let's say, idiocy of what perception of a human needs at the end of its education in order to be a meaningful part of society. What a sequestered idea of the human spirit. What a cage we place on ourselves. But that's humanity, and that's not wrong. What's wrong is if I don't represent the awesome. That would be wrong in my heart. If I don't speak my truth, if I darken my own light, if I cower to the idea of conformity. And this book offers that idea of change. It takes religion and destroys it and builds it back up. Its religion is bullshit because it ideas you as restriction, but it also says it was necessary in order to evolve. We're at a time of evolving past religion, evolving past the external God to embrace the internal God. We're not here to stay the same. How fucking boring is that? Oh, technology, we give our permissions of technology to change, but we don't change ourselves, because that takes work, it takes honesty, it takes suffering, it takes transcendence of your own beliefs. A master's journey. And the characters represented their own change, represented their own hate, represented their own abilities of epiphany and wisdom gained through allowance and separation, through allowance and interpretation, rather. And then things happen.
Yeah. And they
beyond
happen.
The idea.
Yes. And that's where the angelics come in. And the angelics, you present them this religious idea, or I don't know if the idea started into religion or if a religion, but probably, as always, it's the religion that appropriated something that was already there, right? They usually do that. I'm not aware. I don't know exactly how it came to be, but it doesn't matter. But still, these beings that, from the human perspective, do represent an idea of religion. And they are supposed to be these pure and completely white and all of that beings that are serving the external God, essentially. And now there you come and you get into it and you just show the unconditional that they are. They are unconditional beings that act unconditionally. And they receive a prayer, and they receive a vibration from the day walkers.
Yes, the Angelics did, yes.
And that gives them a perspective, unconditional perspective again, of what is happening.
Yes.
Of what is happening with the day walker, where they say you are circling yourself, you are not evolving, you are humanity as a collective, because that's what they see. They see the collective. They don't see us individually. And if they meet one of us individually, they still see us as collective. They because that's what we really are. The individuality is our interpretation. So they see that, and by realizing, oh, you are not evolving. Your species, your reality is a reality of evolution. If you stop evolving, what's the meaning of you?
You need a wake-up call.
Exactly. And so that is where the story begins, actually. And there is all a ritual, and you introduce the houses of the Angelics. And,
the houses,
and there are the main ones, right? Gabriel, Michael, Lucifer,
Metatron, Seraphina,
Metatron.
Michael, of course.
They are all there. Yes.
Oh, you guys did Michael.
And
I love Michael.
Yes.
He is awesome.
And so, and there you have the interaction between the first interaction is very how you tell the way the Angelics work in order to have the attention from the humans. It's very interesting. Can I ask, why did you go through that way?
What first interaction? The first one was Emma and Gabriel. Are you talking about Michael and the collective?
I'm talking when the seal is revealed.
Okay, so that's one. Michael in the courtroom. Yes, Michael in the courtroom. Yeah, and he reads the seal to humanity, and the seal is the angelic idea, right? For the listeners, a seal is like a paper that reads a statement, and it is something of an enactment upon humanity because it's directed towards humanity, and it tells them what's going to happen. That the angelics are now have a account of a seal that's being enacted upon the human collective. And what was your question about that in the courtroom? What was about it?
It's the process to get to that point of presenting the seal. Is they start with the termination, because they talk about termination of a incarnation, which is not, they're not talking about killing or death. They're talking about termination. Again,
terminating the incarnation.
It's unconditional, so they know perfectly well they are not killing, they are not eliminating, they're not annihilating anyone. It's that incarnation stops there, and it's not represented anymore in this reality.
Right.
That's what it is, right? So for them, it's the unconditional. Again.
Yeah, for them, wiping out humanity is not a murder. There's no death. You're just terminating the expression incarnation. The entity in the awareness, the I am that lies behind everyone's eyes, the awareness of each individual singularity is forever. That's represented in the laws in the book.
So when they start with terminating those first, what was it? I don't remember the number.
Billion.
No, that's later. They start with 14. 3 times 14. 14 be terminated for every house, right? 14, 14, 14. It's
for
first,
each of the houses.
Yes. And so they use that in order to be able to attract the attention from you.
They use the seal in the courtroom to public attention to attract the attention. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because they don't need to do it right. It's simply the unconditional. They don't need to do it in hiding or to.
No.
It's open.
See, in all the
Out there.
ideas of Michael, in all the ideas, Michael's story is there when he served two other SEALs to the different collectives. What was it? The absorbers, the purveyors, quantum purveyors. He did that, and then the other species. He served the SEAL to them, and a SEAL is just, hi, we're the Angelics, and this is what we're going to do. They're giving you a heads up. So in order for humanity to get a heads up, because they're not a collective, they're a collective, but like you say, they're individually and they're separated. We have countries, we have races, we have our doors, and we lock each other away and we lock ourselves away, blah, blah, blah. So we're very separated. So there was a very big media idea about a courtroom representing high ability to connect to all the world because it was a high profile case. You know, like just in modern times, we're talking about Amber Lynn and Johnny Depp. You know, it was published on YouTube, had millions and millions of hits on these courtroom going on. So they wanted the Angelics wanted to get out to humanity as a collective at the same time because our ability to connect the world is present. We have the internet. You know, in 1985, when I graduated high school, there was no Google. There was no internet. There's none of those things. We didn't get news until you read a newspaper or you watched the nightly television news. That's how we got the world. We were connected through delay, through the next day. But now we have the entire world instantly. We can get an actual live camera, live stream going on right now of an occurrence in a war. We can be in a war zone from sitting in our living room. So the Angelics, Michael took advantage of that because this was a high-profile case, and so he wants to let not only the courtroom but all of humanity know that he knows as soon as it gets caught attention and an angel is in the middle of a New York courtroom, the entire world's going to pick it up. So the entire world realizes there's angels, and they read a seal that's going to give them a heads up of what's coming. Then that offers an expression to the entire collective, and it's not disseminated through the idea of humanity, dumbing it down through their political ideas of what news is worthy. It was out there, it was live, it was real, so the entire collective knew. The Angelics are coming, and they're pissed. So it was the 1/3 of humanity. Each stage of the reckoning would wipe out 1/3 of 8 billion people. But you'll read the story to find out how that plays out. I'm not going to give you a spoiler on that. But you know that's how it was enacted. That's how the seal was enacted, and it was done, like you said earlier, Max, through a prayer. That's the name of chapter 1. Be careful what you pray for. Because there was a quality in a resonance in that prayer that got Michael's attention, got Gabriel's attention, and he wanted, and he's unconditional, and there's no one in charge of creation. So they can do what the fuck they want to do because they're creators, but they have a different skill set than humans because they know they're creators where humans forgot they're creators. So anyways, go ahead.
And yeah, I want you to come back to the 3 that becomes the triad. So there is
the
Emma.
Triad, yeah. Emma.
So there is Emma, and Emma is a woman, a human being, at least. That's what she is. And she experienced what she perceived as being a injustice, which is that the killer of her child, of her little baby, is pronounced not guilty and let go of every charge.
Was acquitted of all charges, yeah.
and she cannot cope with it. She experienced it as the biggest ever injustice, and she's reenacting the loss. And also, she lost her husband previously, so she is now left alone. She has
because
no one,
her husband died.
nothing left. Yeah,
Her husband died,
she
and
has.
her daughter died, so she has nothing left. Exactly.
So she find herself one evening, one night, and she remembers the statue of Gabriel in a cemetery or a
Cemetery
church.
at a funeral. Cemetery
Exactly.
at a funeral.
And as she remembers that, she prays to Gabriel. And she exposes all of her disarray, all of her grievances with the situation. But it's not limited to that. What she is expressing, that's what you were saying, is that she's also expressing what humanity is at. That is humanity, that injustice system presented as justice, that way humanity is doing it to itself, right?
Yeah.
And that's what then gets to Gabriel, and so, and I
that
think
prayer, yeah,
that prayer, but also I think that there is something more into it, but that something more, you can only understand that at the end. You cannot get it
at the end.
It's only at the end that you get the full picture of Emma and her prayer.
Yes.
Right? So this is
yes.
Emma. And then there is Boris, the Russian. So Emma is French from Paris.
Yes.
Next we have Boris from Russia.
Moscow, Russia.
Against
Boris.
A gangster.
And I picked the name Boris. I love that his name was Boris, because it always makes me think of Boris and Natasha from Rocky and Bullwinkle. There's a cartoon in the States.
And I love that you choose a character that is absolutely, even though he is, let's say, into some sort of unconditionally in the way he does things. However, from the point of view of the righteous word, he's a criminal.
He's a criminal in the everyday humanity. He's a freaking mob boss. He's got his own little empire of drugs, prostitution, strong arms. He's got guns. He's a total. And here's this guy. Yeah. Do you like how Uriel came in and met him? Wasn't that fantastic?
Yes.
When Uriel first presented it at the bar, the way he was dressed, and Boris was smart enough to realize this man has something in him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was fantastic. The way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here is. Go ahead.
Real quick. Each of the characters has their own angel. So Emma and Gabriel were connected, and Boris and Uriel were connected, and we'll get to the last character in a minute. So go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say, and this shows the unconditional is not what you are doing. You can be a prostitute, you can be a lawyer, and you can be a firefighter, or you can be I don't know, street cleaner. What it absolutely doesn't matter. We're here in the unconditional.
Absolutely. That's not what you're representing as an image. That's irrelevant. It's what you're vibrating in your own internal worth. That's what creates, that's what's relevant. That's the understanding. All this externalism about identity, whether you're a street sweeper, a drug dealer, or a president, or a president of a country, or a good Samaritan, or a philanthropist, is irrelevant. It may have the qualities of a human emotion that polarizes you and puts you on a scale of status, but that's irrelevant. That's just experience of interpretation. That's what the angelics taught these three, is that your actual vibration is where it is, what you are worth to yourself. And it's represented, it's expressed, and it's taught, and then they understand it. Phenomenal.
So next we have the opposite. We have Sidon, a cop. A cop.
A cop in Chicago.
And her angelics connection are Seraphine and Teal. How do you pronounce it? Teal. Yeah.
Yeah. T-I-E-N. Teen.
Teen. Yes. Teen.
His eyes are teal, but his name is Teen.
Teen. Seraphine and Teen with Sidon.
Yeah, Seraphine
is
and
a
Teen.
cop.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
she's a cop, and at the beginning, she is investigating some terminations. Strange termination of suspicious
terminations.
Where they realize that the residue left behind by the weapon is something that they have never seen. It's like feeders. There's some feeder material in there. And so they are very confused. They are very confused with what that is. And obviously they are unable to solve the cases because, well, it's not human done. It's not human.
Wasn't done by humans, but the cases get solved for them because it was that. Remember when they were in the kitchen?
They received
Sam.
Yes.
They received the information, but they didn't want to accept it.
Yeah, but it's an evolution, right? It's at first, and this is another thing that I think it's marvelous is that you describe, and that means that requires a very good understanding of humanity. You describe very well the reactions, the human reaction to what is presented. When they are presented with the solution of the case, they cannot believe it because it is outside of anything they can accept as real.
As real. Bingo. They can't accept that as real, so it has to be something else. Although it was presented, they won't accept it, so they have to create a reality, make something fit.
Because how can you cope with the fact that these beings that you thought that they were the incarnation of good suddenly be killing humans?
Right.
And
that was so funny about how that was represented. Angels don't kill people. They don't kill humans. They're the good guys.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know? Have you ever met an angel? I'd like that one line. The only people that humanity, the only people that enslave are humans. What do you want to enslave the angelics too? You want to make them fit your world? Everything's supposed to fit what humans say it's supposed to fit because that's their limitation and that's represented. To say you are trying to make the obvious truth answer fit.
So there we have the three main characters. Yeah, absolutely. So we have the three main characters. There are other that are joining them, but they are the ones that receive the first three seal. And these are given to them so that when there is the first record,
not the seal. They receive the mark.
Yeah, sorry, the mark.
Yeah, the mark. The seal is one that's red. The mark what they're given to protect them against the attack of the angels.
Exactly, and so they can also with that choose people to save. Those that are marked with the mark will be not attacked. Right?
Yeah.
So,
which has biblical references in it too, by the way. There are biblical references to Revelation is about the mark.
Right.
I thought I would tie that in very nicely. Because it also gives a point that all the stuff on that we have is not scripture. It's not the certainty. But what it is a pool of consciousness that you can extrapolate your own interpretation of these things. So all of the religion books and everything is all valid. But it doesn't supersede the internal self. It doesn't have to be a domination from the outside with strict borders and a lineage of here's how it's supposed to be. And if you fail that, you sway outside of that, then you're going to get tossed in eternal hellfire or some bullshit fucking retribution crap. So it's all valid.
So they have that opportunity to do that with the first record, right? The first
record,
third of humanity. And well, we don't want to reveal too much, but so clearly it happens. But and it's mercifully then how you describe the reaction, how humanity reacted to the experience. Because first, when it is announced, you have divisions. Those that believe in it, those that disbelieve it, those that say it's a hoax, those that say that it is some conspiracy that has been put together to enslave, right? This kind of thing. What is out there? All kinds of it. Until the moment where it happens, they are confronted with the fact that it happens.
Yes.
And then it becomes real.
And when it happens, it's no longer a hoax.
Yeah. Finally, they understand that it's really happening. And that, right, and then that dissipate any doubt. It really are the angels, the angelics that are there, creating this with humanity, right? It's not an invention or something, right? And at that moment, then the angelics say, "Well, now there may be a second one. Up to you, humanity, to decide whether there is a second one or not." And again, humanity doesn't understand that, because humanity is seeing that how conditioned. Humanity is seeing the dead. Humanity is seeing only that aspect of it. They do not receive any other message. They are not able yet to really understand from a unconditional point of view. And to be honest, it's something that humans, let's see it more as individually, humans are not acquainted with. So they struggle in allowing that understanding. But that's where the triad comes in. It's that they are there to guide, to offer that knowledge, that understanding, to represent, right?
Mm-hmm. And they put out the work.
And they put out the work. And a huge work to
They
to
spend 6
offer
months
the evolution.
traveling the world, 6 months traveling around at different places, offering this, putting out these papers, putting out this, and it was available for humanity to read these concepts, to understand their teachings, so they can start changing the collective awareness, which will stave off a second reckoning.
And to be fair, is that they are signs of evolution. They are signs of that something is happening with the collective. Right?
Sure.
It's there's something. So it is not sure that there will be the second one. It's in suspense. And
waiting,
actually they wait.
maybe not. Maybe not. It's not determined until the now.
Exactly. And then we're not going into details here.
Right.
Everyone, right? But it's there you see that there's a understanding there that actually the unconditional, so the way this is seen is through the unconditional, and there is no expectation. So it's not about becoming instantly illuminated and ascending instantly. That's not what is expected. What is offered is evolution, or a choice of evolution, but it's left wide open what that is. No one is defining it. That's why it is not clear, or it's not decided yet where that goes. And
exactly.
and from my perspective, how I was reading it, it was even going into the direction of no second reckoning. From my perspective,
almost made it.
It
almost made it.
Yeah, that's how I was seeing it. It almost made it because the work was great, really very, very great, and the work from the triad is very well received. It received really great attention, at the point that where there are ideas of war, ideas of retaliation, or anything like that, the triad is able to sway the opinion in another direction. And I think it's absolutely fantastic the way you really relate that evolution and understanding, and in the same moment you see the evolution of these three beings, because these three beings have been taught, they have received information, they have been able to evolve themselves, but you also see that in at the same moment they are offering all of this to humanity, they also are evolving. They also are discovering many things about themselves that makes them evolve enormously, and this shows how evolution never ends. We're always evolving.
Ever.
We're always discovering.
Absolutely.
And so, as I was saying, to me, all of this really offers me a new perspective, a new understanding of evolution, and how we do our work, how to offer myself the opportunity to make different choices, or choose differently, work differently, discover differently. And by differently, I mean with a new awareness of what I'm doing. And I think that in that, this book is phenomenal. What is offered is phenomenal. I can't hear you. You muted. There you go. No, still not hearing you.
Keep going back.
There you go.
How about now?
There you go.
Good?
You
Okay.
Yeah, good.
So it was the idea that Eric had just said. He says that the information in there can be a curriculum. It's an for teaching. It's an amount of work in there that just expands on consciousness. It's a wonderful story about these three lives that evolve, but all the information of evolution is there for the reader as well.
Yes. And you bring as the three characters are evolving, you bring the reader that is able to evolve with them, to go into a journey of self-discovery, self-awareness, which, well, you have to read the entire book to go through all of that, but it's just fantastic and well written, and the story is great, right? We have given just the beginning, but there's much more.
Oh yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you have coming up in the second. What we're not talking about is that there are the seeds for the next books that are there, but it's also a discovery, a new journey that is offered to humanity. So there, I think you are giving also what is the potential for humanity. Humanity is not limited to what we have now. The evolution of humanity is limitless, right?
Of course.
There you go.
That's fucking phenomenal. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Max. I mean, thank you for reading it and then bringing your insights here today. So, a booyah.
Yeah, and so we're getting more into it because it just came out. So we want people to read it, and I think in a later date we will be able to go and to have a more open discussion. But for now, we stop here.
Yeah, we'll stop here now. Yeah. So, thank you. Yeah, thanks for letting us talk about that. What are we going to do next week? What are your idea for next week?
Yeah, next week we will go into our abilities again and talk about magic.
Magic, very good.
Yes.
Very good.
All right.
All right,
thank
everyone.
You, Roxy.
You're welcome, Max, and thank you for once again co-creating this wonderful moment here on the Madden Guide. And everyone out there, you can find me at odysseyofascension.com. On my homepage, right when you log in, you scroll down, you'll see the Angelics book for sale on Amazon and also Barnes & Noble, paperback, hardcover, and, of course, ebook is available. And I'm also on YouTube, which is Odyssey of Ascension on YouTube. And Max, where can they find you?
breakfastwithmax.com and Breakfast with Max on YouTube as well. And I will put the links for the book in the description too.
Oh yeah, appreciate that.
And so we will be seeing you next week. Thank you for joining in to listen, and have a great week.
Have a great week, everyone. Thanks all for joining. Bye now.
Bye-bye.